Hello guys, welcome back to my podcast. Yes, different location. I'm in my kitchen. I am also in a different home. I moved last year shortly after I started the podcast. I am very excited about my new home. I love it. I'm making some improvements. And yeah, I'm excited. This is the space. I don't know if this will be the background for my podcast forever, but if you're listening on Spotify, you won't care because you're not seeing anything anyway. I am so excited because I've done a big rebrand. As you may have noticed, we've got a different name, different profile photo, different description, different fun, jazzy stuff, and we have new ideas and new things starting every single day. I'm very excited. Some of you who have been with me since the start of the podcast might be wondering why I decided to do a little bit of a rebrand and change a few things up. I decided to do that just because I hit a bit of a rocky path shortly after I started the podcast. I was a full-time student, so, life was crazy anyway. I was studying a healthcare subject, so if anybody has studied a healthcare subject in the past, you'll know that it is very full on. There's a lot that goes on in your life around that time. And I decided to start my podcast at probably one of the busiest times in my life, which is actually surprisingly not the reason that I took a break shortly after. I took a break because I kind of hit a wall. I had something happen with someone that was involved in the podcast before the rebrand that I no longer have in my life. I no longer have interest in having in my life and don't really want any connections to. So I decided rebrand was crucial. I ended up in hospital with the same situation, and it was just not really the vibe that I wanted to bring into the podcast in the future. So I decided to just wipe it all and start again. And this is where we are. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you were here with the last name in the previous episodes. We're back, we're better than ever, and it's just me and you and a camera if you're watching on YouTube. But some of you may remember the topic of friendships in one of the older videos. I want to kind of bring that back a little bit. I want to talk about relationships in general. I want to talk about life as an adult. I didn't realize the vast difference that being an adult versus being in high school and the friendship difference, how you need to navigate a friendship, that kind of thing, that just how wildly different it all is. It's crazy. It blows my mind still when I think about it, but there are definitely similarities. I think the way that some people handle friendships and the way that people treat each other tends to be very similar to high school. But I think a lot of people don't realize that in order to maintain a friendship in your adult life, a lot of things need to change and a lot of things need to be different. And a lot of things you need to kind of adapt. I found that I have a friend who has been a friend of mine for the last 19 years. We have gone through every phase of life together, from being babies to, kids in primary school to then going through high school and uni and blah, blah, blah as you go on. And we have gone through having to change the way that we navigate our relationship over the years, and every single time we enter a new phase of life, we, either hit a road bump or we navigate it together, or, we hit that road bump and then we have to navigate through it, because your life changes so dramatically as you go through each step that the friendship needs to adjust. And it's crazy. Like, it's so amazing when you can do that with someone, and when you have a friend like that you can navigate life like that with. It is really great. Like, it's amazing. But also, it's okay to have those friends that kind of flip-flop in and then out of your life. That's fine. That's fine too. There are friends that I gained after coming out of high school that I'm no longer friends with now. There are friends that I had in high school that I'm no longer friends with now. There are people that, you know, I was friends in high school with that our friendship ended in high school and then started back up when we came out of high school and then ended again. That's fine too. Sometimes you grow apart. Sometimes, you have a big fight and you don't want to be friends anymore. Sometimes, someone sets a boundary or, you just go into different paths in life. And that's completely fine too. But I think I've definitely learned as an adult that I didn't really learn very well or adapt to in high school is that it's so important in any kind of relationship, whether it be a friendship or, a loving relationship, that you need to set boundaries. You need to have a standard for yourself to be like, this is who I am. If someone can't accept that and love that and like me for me, like genuinely like me as a person, you can be loved and you can love somebody else, but you need to genuinely like who they are as a person, because there's a difference. There's a difference between loving someone and liking someone. Very vastly different. And I think some people don't understand that. But yeah, I've learned that boundaries are really important. You need to look into yourself and figure out what is the most important thing to you. What do you really, really value in your friends? Look at your longest formed relationship. I always look back into the relationship that I've had for the last 19 years, the friendship that I've had, and I kind of think, why has this worked? Like, why have we been friends for 19 years? What is the thing that really works with us that I can kind of bring into other relationships in my life as well? Other boundaries, other, communication styles, that kind of thing. And I've learned that for me personally, being as straightforward as possible is the best thing for me in my relationships. I am not someone who sugarcoats things. I'm not someone who, goes through life being like, it's fine. Like, people can do whatever they want to do to me, and I don't care. They can keep doing that. They can, do whatever they want. And it's my job as a friend to put up with that. Like, no, that's not how I work. That's not how my friendships work. It may work for other people. And I'm not saying that, it shouldn't work for other people. But for me, I let myself be a doormat when I was in high school. And when I came into being an adult, I decided that I wasn't going to be a doormat anymore. I wasn't going to be the person where people could just do anything. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, do you want me to help you pick up the mess that you made? And, I'll always apologize if we have a fight, whether it's my fault or not. Like, that's not how I wanted to function as an adult. That's not the person that I wanted to become in my adult life. I'm an adult now. I'm not studying anything anymore. I have a full-time job. The next step in life for me that I see for myself is, being with my partner that I have been with for the last 2 years for the rest of my life, having children, actually building a proper future and a proper life. I have built up myself to the point where I can build a life now, because I'm at that point. I'm in my early 20s, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert in my early 20s. There will be people in their 40s and 50s who will be sitting there rolling their eyes being like, oh my God, this 20-year-old's trying to give us life advice. Not true. I'm telling you how I do my life, my mindset at this point in my life. I'm not saying that that's not going to change in the next 10 years. It probably will. By the time I'm 40 or 50, I'm probably going to have a different way of living my life. Let's not get confused. I'm talking about the here and the now. I'm 21. This is how I live my life. This is how I have gotten to this point in my life, how I've kind of gotten past the mental health issues that I've had or still have, the other issues that I've struggled with in life. I've been through certain things that other people haven't been through, how I've gotten through that, all of that. I've had a lot of different life experiences already in my very short life that I've lived, and I'm just speaking my truth about where I am right now. But yeah, I've learned that being straightforward is the best way for me to keep my friendships or disregard the ones that aren't real. Because to me, the most important things in friendship or any relationship is trust, loyalty, and honesty. That those are my big things, my biggest things. I remember when I first started seeing my girlfriend, she said to me, well, we asked each other, what is your biggest absolute no, like your end game? What would I have to do for this to be the end, kind of thing? And I think that was like on our second date too. So, it's very lesbian, it's very gay, but anyway. And I remember I said, trust and loyalty are very important to me. My biggest no-no is obviously cheating. I have been cheated on before, and that was the end. That was the end for me for that. And, that's just my thing. I think I don't care. My girlfriend never has to ask me for permission to do anything. I think it's crazy when you have to ask your partner for permission. They are their own person. You are your own person. Yes, you cohabitate. You have made the decision to have a life together and to join your lives together, but asking permission is not something that should be happening. Like I always say, you can go out, you can do whatever you want. You can go out with whoever you want. But just tell me where you're going. Just tell me what you'd like, just do what you want to do. But just say, hey, babe, I'm going out with this person and we're going here. And I'll be like, great, see you later. See you later. I mean, sometimes occasionally she'll be like, is that okay? Because if we haven't seen each other for a little while, and I'm like, go, see ya, have fun. Because I've always said to her, and I have that similar mentality with my friendships. I trust you until I don't. I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. And if you give me a reason not to trust you, I don't see a future in that friendship or that relationship at all. That's just who I am. I don't know if that's harsh. I don't know if you guys are going to disagree with that mentality. I think that was a big life lesson for me last year when my podcast kind of came to an end for a little bit. And when I did hit that rocky path with a certain person, my biggest thing was I wanted to stick true to me and what my gut was telling me. My gut was saying, get the hell out of that relationship, that friendship. It's not worth it. It's not worth it if someone's not willing to put in the effort with you, if someone's not willing to trust you, trust what you're saying. If they require proof for something, there's no point. There's no point. My friends could come to me and say, Charlie, this happened to me last night. And I will be like, holy shit. Are you okay? Are you all good? Do you need anything? There's no, okay, great, provide me proof for that. That's not how that works. That's not how that works to me. That's not how a relationship works. It's not how a friendship works. You should be able to believe what's coming out of your friend or your partner's mouth. You shouldn't have to sit there and question or ask for proof or ask for justification for something. I think the only real times that an explanation is necessary is when you've gone through an argument or you're not meeting eye to eye on something and you're kind of like, can you explain that a little bit more? Can you give me a little bit more context because I'm not understanding your point and I want to? Because that's my biggest thing. If I go through or have an argument with someone, I want to be able to see it from both sides. I want to be able to understand where they were coming from in that moment. I want to be able to say, okay, great. I completely get what you were saying and why you were frustrated with me in that moment. This is why I'm frustrated that's why I was frustrated with you. If you can accept that, then I think we're good and we can keep going and we can get over it and I can forgive you and you can forgive me. That's my communication style. That's how I believe that, good friendships come about, good relationships come about. I have friendships that have lasted 19 years, 16 years. My relationship is going on 2 years. I'm feeling pretty good and set in the way that my mind works and the way that, for me, I can have long-lasting friendships and relationships. I'm very curious as to, how other people do that, how, you who are watching, how do you navigate your relationships and friendships? Are you struggling? Are you, working through it? Do you feel set in the way that you communicate, in the way that you do you feel settled in the relationships that you have? If you do, let me know. Comment it. Tell me. I want to hear your perspective. I want to sit at home and be like, hey, this is cool. Like, this is not how I would do it, but this is cool. And I'm so happy that, other people have also reached a comfortable point, or, hear about some people who are struggling and, see kind of what they're struggling with. Because I think that's so interesting. And I think we've all hit a point in life, whether you're, 15, 11, 10, 20, 40, 60 years old. Like, everybody has struggles. And I think a lot of the time I've noticed, especially being a young adult now, people who are older tend to be like, oh, you can't have struggles. Like, you're only 20, you're only 21, or you're only 16. Wait until you get older and you have real struggles. And it's like, well, that's not. People struggle at different phases in their life. People go through different types of struggles, and that's not, it shouldn't be unjustified and it shouldn't be pushed aside, because to that person, that's real. That's an issue. That's something that they are really either hurting from, or, it makes them really upset to think about. And that's not fair. We need to, maybe just chill out a little bit with the, with speaking down to younger people, because like, now that I'm a full-time midwife. Thank you very much, by the way. Full-time midwife as of November 2024. But now that I'm a full-time midwife, I watch the new students that are coming into the hospital, and they're so young. Like, some of them are straight out of high school. Some of them are 18 years old, 17 years old. And I remember being 18 years old, coming into this profession, shitting myself and so worried about, these professionals who I had to work with day in, day out, who were teaching me how they were going to treat me. Sometimes they did treat me like shit. Sometimes they did. Sometimes they were the most lovely people I've ever met in my life. I strive to be the most lovely person they've ever met in their life. But, we all have our days. And I don't know, it's so important. Like, I went through some of the hardest times in my life when I was in uni. That was just kind of when my uni life and my personal life decided to just like blow up a little bit. And that was really hard for me. And I think sometimes I would say, like, I wouldn't go into context, but I would say to people, I'm really struggling at the moment. Like, I'm not doing well, or I'm going through some stuff. And if they were a bit older than me, they would be like, oh, you're only 19. You're only 19, 20 years old. You don't know what struggle is. You don't know how hard life could be yet. And I think that was probably the worst thing someone could say to me at that time, because to me, that struggle was real. To me, that was the hardest thing, one of the hardest things I had gone through. And when people downplay what you're going through, sometimes that can just make it a whole lot worse. It doesn't make anybody feel better. It doesn't. Because then it makes you feel like, oh, fuck, well, if this is what I'm going through and if I find this really hard and really bad, what's the point in like keeping continuing? Like, why, if I'm going to go through worse and I'm feeling the worst right now, what is coming for me, kind of thing? Like, it doesn't leave a young person very hopeful when you're telling them that life sucks even more than what they're struggling with at that moment. Anyway, I'm going to stop ranting about young people, but yeah, I just think, for me, friendships and relationships are so different. Like, in high school, you would have catty fights and you'd be best friends again the next day. You would people would talk about their boyfriends. Someone slept with my boyfriend. Someone does this. Someone's done that. I like this boy and she's gone after him. And I like this girl and she's gone after her. And blah, 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 blah. I remember in high school, someone pretended to be gay and tried to get me to like her. Tried to get me to have a crush on her because to her it was a game. To her, she wanted to see if she could bag the gay girl. She didn't. Just to preface, I personally didn't date anyone in high school, but yeah, that's just what high school's like. In adult life, very similar, I'm not going to lie. The arguments and some of the shit that I've heard makes me wonder, like, how old are you? How old are you? Have you moved past high school? Why are you treating people like you're about to go into math? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, lunchtime's about to finish, babe. You need to pack it up. But yeah, it astounds me. Even some of the things like my mum will tell me about arguments with her friends or, arguments with people that she works with. And I'm like, how fucking old are these people? How old are these people that they are that petty? They can't have a simple conversation with somebody else to sort their shit out. There's a grown woman who has an issue with me at the moment, who has not, I'm waiting for her to come up to me and have a conversation. There's been no conversation. There hasn't even been a fight to lead to this point, and no conversation has happened. Like, it baffles me that people still have a problem with someone and will just talk to everybody else but that person that they have a problem with. I can't stand it. I personally, if I have a problem with someone, I don't like to dwell. I like that to be the end of it. If I have a problem with someone, they've said something that hurts me or offends me or that I just don't agree with, I prefer to just walk up to them and be like, yo, I didn't like the way that you did this, or I didn't like the way that you said that. And I like to sort it out. Because what is the point? What is the point? If you are holding a grudge, if you hate someone, if you dislike someone, and you hold on to it, all you're doing is hurting yourself. If you don't want to have a conversation with that person, all you are doing is hurting yourself. You are drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. You are only making yourself suffer by holding on to this shit. There is no fucking point. No point. To me, if I end a friendship or have a problem with someone, I let it go. I let it go. I stop thinking about it. Because to me, if I choose to end a relationship or if I choose to walk up to somebody and have a conversation about why I'm upset with them at that moment in time, I made the right decision. I have a reason to feel the way that I feel, and you have a reason to feel the way that you feel. Let's talk about it. If we don't agree, if we don't want to be friends anymore, we end the relationship, and you know what? That was our decision to make, and that was a valid decision. I'm not going to sit there and dwell over it for the next 5 million weeks. There's no point. No point. Because why am I sitting at home and dwelling over a decision that I made justifiably? Why? I don't know. I think I get very passionate about this topic because a lot of things frustrate me about this topic, about sometimes I listen to my friends talk about their friendships that I have nothing to do with. I'm not a part of those friendships. I don't even know the people because, my friends don't have to have the same friendship group as me. But sometimes I listen to like what they're saying about their friendships and the things that them and their friends are fighting about, or the things that their friends are getting upset about or petty about or whatever. And it blows my mind. I'm like, great, okay, have you guys talked about it? No. Have you guys told each other you're mad at each other? No. Okay, great, cool, no worries, great, okay. What have you done about this? And they're like, oh, we just aren't talking. I'm like, oh, great. So like, why is that even productive? Does that feel productive to you? Or are you both now sitting at home dwelling over the fact that something's happened, you haven't done anything, and you're waiting for somebody else to get the ball rolling and be the bigger person? It's not weak. It's not weak. to talk to somebody about something. It's not weak to be the first person to bring it up. That is a belief and a value and something that does not make sense to me. It is a very high school mentality and a very high school way of doing things, by having the mentality that being the first person to bring it up or the first person to go to someone about an issue is weak. It blows my mind, because what are you talking about? What do you mean? What do you mean that bringing it up first makes you weak? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Because what if it's something so fucking stupid? But also, what if it's something important? Why does it make you weak to go to that person like, hey, I'm upset. I'm mad. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why does that make you weak? But it doesn't make you weak to go around and talk to every single other person that knows the person you're pissed with and tell them why you're pissed and what the situation is. Why does that not make you weak? Why does it make you weak to actually go to the person you have a problem with? That's what astounds me. Like, actually think about it, because I think people listen to other people say that and like, yeah, no, she has a good point. But it's like, why do I have a good point? Why do I have a good point? For real. Think about it. Just saying. But yeah. Otherwise, friendship-wise, things are going good. Life is good. I'm very keen to have other people on the podcast if they would like to be. I think I've definitely decided with this podcast now that I will be doing it solo for majority of the time, unless somebody would like to join me. Yes, I've decided that I want to do it alone unless other people want to be in it, unless they kind of express to me like, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast, I'd love to do an episode with you, then I'll, bring them on and we'll have a good chat. But otherwise, I'd love to answer people's questions. If you have questions, put them down in the comments. We can do a little segment where I read your messages, where I read your questions, your comments, your, bits and bobs. If you want to tell me stories, if you want to ask my advice on stuff, again, I'd like to preface, I'm 21 years old. I do not know everything. I only know what I know from my 21 years of living. I am not saying I know everything, because I certainly do not. I still ring my mum every day, and I still talk to her about shit that I'm unsure of, about my life, about my friendships, about my relationships in general. That's just, life. But yes, I'm very interested in hearing from you guys. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What do you want to know? But yeah, that is all I have to say for this podcast. Oh, hello. My dog wants to say hello. Hang on. For those of you on YouTube, you can now officially see my dog. This is Toby. He says hello. He is a sausage dog, very needy, and loves to bark. So if you've heard some cuts or seen some cuts in footage, that is because he decides that he wants to bark at everything and everyone that is around the vicinity of my home. Do you have anything to say to end the podcast, Toby? Do you have anything to say? Okay, thanks so much. Okay, thank you so much for listening, everybody. I am very keen to hear what you think, very keen to hear what you have to say. Drop questions, comments, or little stories about your life in the comments, and I will start to do a little segment in my podcast of reading those ones out. But I love you all very much. I hope you enjoyed the new episode now that we're back. And yeah, I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm excited. I'm very excited.